Whoop-dee-dee and trolley-bazoo. It's time for another episode of I Played a Thing, Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin, with your Hobgoblin of Joy, Un. Before we get started in the Huntsman's Copse once again, we'll be finishing up with that today. I'm gonna make a quick check with Salden, see if he has any new dialogue. I'm not sure exactly what his triggers are.
Quite a hive of activity we are these days. I'd forgotten how much comfort a little companionship can bring. Once I'd lost everything, but now I am grateful for what you have taught me. It is very little, but please, take this.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, Salden tends to get a little bit less depressed as more and more people move to Majula, and eventually we get a soul vessel from him. Neat.
Have you seen that? May you find peace on your journey.
Alright, nothing else new for the moment. But last time I did neglect to do the flavor text for the Undead Lockaway key and for the new Flame Swathe that I bought. So, before we get back into the action, we can take care of that. The Undead Lockaway key is the key to the prison in the Huntsman's Copse. The undead hunts during the reign of the Old Iron King took place in this forest, and the cells in which the undead were held still stand there to this day. However, the march of time has eroded away any difference between the captors and the captives. A couple interesting things here. The whole no more difference between the captors and the captives indicates that perhaps those undead hunters are hollow themselves now after all. And the mention of the Old Iron King. That's going to actually be a pretty important figure as we move forward, both in the main game and in one of the DLC areas. So just a name to remember. And Flame Swathe. One of the pyromancies devised by Strayed, the great mage of ancient Olafis. Great flames envelop and immolate faraway foes. Strayed, always immersed in magic, never accepted an apprentice. As a result, much of his extensive knowledge is permanently lost. I don't know, Strayed seems like the kind of guy who has archives somewhere. Anyway, it's interesting that this is a spell that was not only sold by, but actually developed by him. And it is a pretty damn good pyromancy. What it does is it makes a fireball appear, and there's a short delay, and then it explodes quite violently, for very nice fire damage. So, because there's that delay, you don't want to use it on anything that's fast-moving, but if it's on a slow enemy, or one that you can time their moments of inactivity, it packs quite a punch. One other thing we're gonna do is make a run of things betwixt and trade in that smooth and silky stone. By the way, folks, please do excuse me if I sound a little bit off today. I am a little bit congested, but it isn't anything too severe, and I wanted to get some recording done, so I'm just going to plow on through. But if I have a little bit of a nasal touch that isn't normally there, then that's your explanation. It's coming, it's coming. Yeah, silky smooth. Like Barry White in a rock tumbler. Oh, Dark Knight Stone. Well, that's kind of cool. Those can be fairly difficult to come by. That applies the dark element to a weapon if you take it to McDoof. Dark scaling isn't going to be that exciting for us because we're not going to have a lot of intelligence and even less faith. But if you're rocking a hexing build, it can be quite valuable. Now then, let's roll on back to the Undead Lockaway in the Huntsman's Copse, where we met with Creighton. And we can proceed on through the rest of the area. We should be able to finish this up no problem, and then proceed onward to the next section. Now we'll have to go along the cliffside here again, because we have not opened the portcullis in the cave there. And since this is an area that we've mostly cleaned out before... Man, this guy wasn't paying attention at all. Ooh, nice drop, too. Even if his upper body is kind of levitating there. Some weird ragdoll stuff happens in this game. Ooh, nice dodge. Anyways, I was saying, since we've actually been through this area before, or this part of it, rather, I'll catch you up a little. I did have my first session with the voiceover coach on Friday, and it went pretty well. I like the guy, which is always helpful in a teacher-student relationship, and I haven't actually been on the mic yet. We mostly just did shop talk about stuff like agents and union versus non-union work, and what's required to be a good VA. But, you know, while I haven't really been put to the test in any significant way, I will say that at least I haven't been scared off yet. So that's a start. You know, it did come out, as I pretty much already knew, that very few people can actually make a primary living from it, but, you know. Flame butterflies. Several of them. That makes me a happy bunny. Come on. And also, I have an interview for a regular job on Monday. So in the interim, that will help keep the lights on and the rent paid. Hopefully. It doesn't look like a particularly good job, I'll be honest about that. It would definitely not be something that I'd be thrilled about doing, but I think I'd be capable, and again, it's a paycheck for a couple months. It would be a short-term contract. So, that's another thing I wouldn't have to worry about doing it for long. So, we'll see how that goes. Anyway, we have a little lock-away area type of thing here, even if it's not actually locked up. Someplace new. Wow, they're really hooking me up with the flame butterflies. That's interesting. My lock-on doesn't recognize this guy as an enemy. But still. It's really an act of mercy at this point. And an act of hoping I get some prisoner clothes. Which is still not happening. I think up ahead we're actually going to have the other necromancer for this area. Oh yeah, is that him hanging out right over there? Yep, well, we're going to snipe him down. Otherwise, as soon as he notices, he would start shooting magic at us, and we can't have that. And that is both necromancers for the area, so we no longer have to worry about any regenerating skeletons, which is always a plus. I should also note that Dark Souls 2 has no equivalent of divine weapons, so there are no weapons that can permanently put skeletons down when they would otherwise resurrect. The only way to keep them from reviving is to take out their necromancers. We can't actually go this way. So, we're gonna go down and around. Right here we have the boss of Huntsman's Copse, but there is a little more we can do before we finish up with the area, so we're gonna go right on in this way. Which is the other side of the cave of the skeletons. And that is exactly why I'm pulling out my hammer, so we can bash them down as needs must. Skeletons, like so many things in this game, do not like strike damage. Ooh, one shot even. I like that. Smashy, smashy. And over there on this little island is where the necromancer used to be. They moved him in Scholar. I'm not entirely sure why, but they did. I'll go see what's on that island in a moment. Haha. Well, I got my revenge on the necromancer already, but it's a worthy statement. And some free Titanite and a free cast of combustion. Not gonna complain about those. Jumping over death pits is always a little scary, but gotta have that treasure. Nothing terribly exciting treasure-wise, but Human effigies, we can never have too many. And sconces, we can never leave unlit. Alright, the big cave here seems to be well cleared away. Ooh, crystal lizard. And down it goes. What kind of ore will we get today? Various flavors of titanite, including a chunk. Very sweet. Hey, you. Get away from that switch. And another Estus Flask shard. We're really racking up the Sunny D. Sweet. Now we'll open our shortcut here. Which will give us a slightly easier run back from the bonfire should we ever need it. Hopefully we won't. The upcoming boss is not terribly difficult. And right here we have a summon sign that is new to Scholar of the First Sin. Was not here at all before, and we never actually got to summon this character in the vanilla game. And it's our new friend Creighton. Very cool. Nasty looking axe he has there too. So now, interestingly enough, we've gotten an assist from both members of the, or rather both sides of this little conflict between Pate and Creighton. So our allegiances are going to be kind of divided. Again, it's hard to know who to trust. Come along, Mr. Wanderer. Anywho, the boss here. I should probably talk about it a little bit before I actually plunge in, because I'll have my hands full once I do. Not a hard boss, but one that requires some focus. We're going to have 3 Skeleton Kings. And you kind of determine the difficulty of this boss and how you approach it. The Skeleton Kings, when you defeat them, they each explode into a small army of regular skeletons. So, to make it as easy as possible, you want to take them down one at a time. Like, the other 2 will continue to bother you, or any surviving ones, rather, will continue to bother you, but at least you won't be completely swamped with an army of skeleton spawn. And that does make things a lot simpler than the alternative. Of course, if you want a major challenge, you can take down these Skeleton Kings, all 3 in rapid succession, and do the full range of little skeleton spawns, but, you know, unless you're trying to do some sort of weird boss challenge run, I really wouldn't recommend it. Alright. All that said, onward, Creighton. So we're gonna have one of them with a scythe, one with a halberd, and one with a staff. The one with the staff uses pyromancy on you, which is a little bit dangerous. But he actually has arguably the most dangerous of the junior skeletons, so I'm gonna leave him for last. And thankfully Creighton actually can't do a whole lot of damage to these guys, which is good. He won't accidentally kill any before we're ready. But he will provide a valuable distraction. Alright, first of the kings down. And Creighton seems to be attracting the attention of the other 2, which I am not at all sad about. He's tanking the hits quite well, which is additionally helpful. And our strike damage will help us deal with the minions nice and swiftly. We are one-shotting them, which always helps. So yeah, we are well equipped for this boss fight, and it's looking to go pretty well for us. I shouldn't say that, famous last words and all, but hey. Alright, so we can now take down the halberd skeleton with a little less interference. And he's gonna spawn some friends. And it's just gonna be more fairly vanilla skeletons, nothing we haven't dealt with before. I think they're actually a little easier than the guys spawned by the scythe one, which seem to be a little better armed and armored. Oh! Getting ganged up on is never a safe thing, though. And they do seem to be greater in number, which is always a danger in Dark Souls. Let's get a little ground between the 2 of us and heal up. And we should be okay now, I think. Oh, that guy took one on the shield, which is why I didn't insta-kill him. Stamina, stamina, stamina. Creighton seems to be keeping the other king busy, so that helps us out a great deal. And even with these guys having their shields up, we can drop them in 2 hits. Strike damage. Good deal. Oh, Creighton killed the other king, so we've got bone wheels in the mix now. That's bad. They actually made this a little bit safer in Scholar because there are only 2 bone wheels now. He spawned more of them in the vanilla game. And we're done. I wasn't expecting that. Creighton must have taken down the other bone wheel while I wasn't looking. That's actually more offensive effectiveness than the NPC summons usually have. Wow, cool. So yeah, as I was saying, in the vanilla Dark Souls 2, there were more bone wheels, which was not fun, but the number of regular skeletons that spawned was also lower. You didn't have that huge army when you took down the halberd guy. Free effigy. Always welcome. Let's see. Nope, no more treasures in here from the appearance of it. But now this path is open to us. Thanks, message. And that's the rockfall that we couldn't get through that we saw from the other side. And now we get to move along. Oh, I should really take a look at that boss soul real quick, like. Soul of a skeleton lord, who reigned from deep within the huntsman's copse. The old Iron King commanded the capture of all undead, but those charged with the task were overcome by the curse. A little more flavor about the old Iron King there. We now know that he was the one who set up the undead hunts around here, and the Skeleton Kings, we can presume, are commanders of the hunters who were overcome by the curse themselves. Interesting that they went more than hollow and turned full on skeletal, though. Maybe it was due to their special rank or whatever? I don't know, I'm just guessing. And we've got another bridge just like we saw out there that we can once again lower. And the lights are flickering here. Interesting. Hopefully we will not have a power outage. It must be storming outside. I have the blackout curtain drawn, so I can't actually tell. If there's a power outage, then hopefully this will not all be lost. We can always come back and pick up later if at least some of the video is salvageable. As a matter of fact, there is a woman ahead. We're going to be meeting a new friend momentarily. We got kind of a one-way path here. Ladder we can drop down, but cannot climb back up. But it really doesn't matter, because we're going to have bonfires to work with. And we got some summon signs around, and when you see multiple player summon signs, that often means one thing, a bonfire. And yes, indeed, we've got one over there, but we will have to wade through poison to get to it. And poison's going to be a big theme of this area. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as much as you, folks. Bong! And when you get immersed in poison like that, even just up to the waist, it sticks to you for a while. So you see we've kind of got green on us, and the poison meter is still going up. Thankfully, it's all dripping off. You can see it going down to our feet. Kind of a neat little graphical touch and attention to detail, even if it is a pain in the ass. Man, that took our meter almost all the way to the top. Well, we're definitely going to want a bonfire up and restore our Estus and weapon durability. And then we'll go meet our new friend. Let's see, if I run through rather than completely immersing myself with a jump, I wonder if that will help any. Let's find out. We seem to have gotten about as much green on us, so that probably isn't particularly helpful, but everything's worth a try. Seems like she's kind of caressing his skull there. Alas, poor Yurik, I knew him, Salad. Hi.
Are you a traveller? I'm Chloanne, an ore-stone trader. I travel about collecting rare stones, which I sell to make my living. I never planned to visit this God's forsaken place. But I don't know. I just sort of ended up here. I must have just wandered in. But now that I'm here, I've been scouting around for rare bits. Oh, don't look at me like that. Many of these stones are quite useful. For instance, certain stones are used in smithing. Oh, now your ears prick up. I've extras if you can pay. This is my trade, after all.
Ooh, Titanite. You're talking about Titanite, aren't you?
I came here in search of rare stones, but the place is nothing like I was told. All this poison, and you can't get very far inside. Don't just go haplessly wandering about.
As you can see, she ain't kidding about all this poison.
These stones may look all the same, but to the trained eye, each is unique. Some of them are used to smith weapons and armor, and some unique stones provide special benefits. Some of them are extremely rare and should be used with great thrift. None of the differences are easily spotted, but I've learned quite a lot, really.
And we get sort of a vague little tutorial about Titanite there, but really if you've managed to get this far without learning at least that much about Titanite, well damn, son.
Drang Lake. How is it that I ended up here? It's funny. I can't seem to remember.
Well, sounds like most of the folks who end up here, she's a little bit afflicted with that old curse herself. Still looking pretty human, so it's not too far along, but her memory does already seem to be suffering.
I've searched every nook and cranny here. I suppose it's time to move on. Perhaps we'll meet again, if we live that long.
Well, as you may have guessed from people we've met so far, and the way they talk about moving on when we exhaust their dialogue, yes, Chloanne is going to move onward to Majula after we finish up here. Oh, hello.
I suppose it's about time I moved shop.
I probably should have taken off my bellkeeper ring for that conversation, but I don't think we missed too much. We've got an invader in Belfry Luna, and we will have to see if we can take them down. Oh, and they've got Glencore. Oh! And old Masterless is getting a good piece of me, too. Oh shit, and I forgot how much HP that NPC summons have. Oh, using my favorite weapon. Alright, I'll never feel too bad about getting dropped by a greatsword user. Alright, let me take that off until we get finished with Chloanne here. And as you saw in the little caption there, we are in Harvest Valley now. Note about that in a moment, but we'll finish with Chloanne first.
What? Do you need something?
Well, let's see what you have for sale. She has a bonfire aesthetic, which is kind of interesting. And 10 Titanite shards, which is really not that impressive. It's really only about as much as Lenegrast had at the start. The only person with any kind of unlimited supply of Titanite so far has been old McDoof. But Chloanne is a little deceptive at this point. I mean, not in what she says to you, but in her usefulness. As we progress through the game at certain trigger points, she will be flagged to carry more and better supplies of Titanite, so eventually she is going to be our #1 hookup. But for now, this is all she can provide for us. But still, Titanite's a good thing to have, so we'll buy out her supply. And she's got a Miracle and a Hex, neither of which are of any particular value to us at this point. I don't think I'm going to need any major quantity of bonfire ascetics anytime soon, so we'll leave that alone. Save the money. And is there anything else I need to know from her?
I've searched perhaps...
Nope.
Visit me again, whenever you please.
I'll do that. And before we proceed onward in Harvest Valley, I'm going to make another stop in Majula to spend some of these souls and perhaps catch up with Chloanne there. But I will make a quick note about Harvest Valley. That's kind of an iffy translation. In the Japanese, the idea was Gathering Valley, but it was the kind of gathering where something accumulates. So, more describing the poison collecting in pools here, rather than a place where something is being harvested from. On the other hand, Harvest Valley is actually kind of appropriate, even if it's not a faithful translation, because you see that big mill up there? That is being used to harvest the poison, for reasons we'll find out later. So in the end, it kind of works out. And here we have already our friend Chloanne, all set up in Majula. And I believe Lenigrast will have something to say about her.
Oh, I'd given you up for dead.
Oh, relax.
My witless daughter finally came home. Just as oblivious as she's always been. Well, at least now I can keep an eye on her.
Oh, so Chloanne is Lenigrast's missing daughter. Well, that's good to hear. They can finally be reunited.
Stones? Try asking my daughter. You might be surprised.
Well, nothing really surprising about the way Titanite works, but she'll be a good source for them at least.
Drat. Don't spend...
And does Chloanne have anything to say about him?
Oh, fancy meeting you here. Speak up if you need anything at all right? These stones may look all the same, but to the trained eye, each is unique. Some of them are used to smith, some of them, none of them.
Well, we've heard that bit before.
You know how they call this place Drang Lake, right? Well, in the old lore, in stories and the like, they said it had another name. What was it? Well, I don't know. It's just something I heard. Since long, long ago, many kingdoms have risen and fallen on this very spot. Each like a great flame that turns to soot. Maybe that's why people don't remember much about the past.
Well, that and the Dark Sign curse. But anyway, that is another reference to the whole death and rebirth cycle that we will be hearing so much about through this game, and that we've heard quite a bit of already. And that bit about this kingdom having had another name once upon a time, I think that's kind of a coy little hint on the writer's part, that this is a place we know, in some way or another. And I like to think that's another hint that at least part of Drang Lake here used to be connected to Lordran, but again, there's no hard evidence of that one way or the other, so, you know, your mileage may vary.
You see that blacksmith over there? Is he one of those hollows? He seems to keep eyeing me up. He sort of looks like my father. He's a blacksmith too, you see. The poor man's such a worrywart. But he wouldn't follow me out here, would he?
Ooh, that's kind of unfortunate. It seems that Chloe doesn't quite recognize her father. Whether that's because her memory is fading or because he's looking so green and hollowed out, I'm not sure, but for one reason or another, yeah. If it's her memory, that's kind of interesting, because it means that she is physically in great shape, but her memory's going, whereas Lenegrast there has physically declined quite a bit. He's looking very green and hollowy, whereas his memory seems quite sharp. Guess they're, the effects aren't the same in every person, maybe.
I was born in a land to the west, Volgan, famous for its merchants. There were great, bustling cities. But for me, they were suffocating. And so I set out, in search of stones in faraway lands. There are dangers, for certain, but I much prefer to live this way. But for the life of me, I can't remember how I ended up here. It's as if I were drawn to the place, or lured in. Oh, I don't know.
Dark sign. I'm telling you, dark sign. The whole undead thing. But, at least for as long as your memories hold out, I guess your being happy is the most important thing. You know, if this way of life agrees with you, then it's all good for the time being. And I'm looking for a cure, and if I find anything, I'll be sure to share.
These stones, none of the...
And it looks like we're done with our conversation for the time being. We'll see if there's anything... Nope, same stuff she had in Harvest Valley. That will change eventually.
No interest. Suit yourself.
Well, no interest only because you don't have good merchandise yet. That will change. And I think after that boss fight, that Maulin here, who if I recall correctly is also from Volgan, will have some Skeleton King gear. We'll check into that.
You need armor?
Let's see, wasn't there Skeleton King gear? I could have sworn there was. Well, maybe we get it somewhere else. Oh, you know what? We probably get it after we finish up the area. Or I could be completely wrong. I don't remember with any certainty. Oh, no matter for now.
Are you sure?
There is one thing I'm pretty sure we can do while we're talking about Skeleton Lord booty. And I do not mean bony butts. Let us pay a visit to our buddy, Mr. of Olafis. I am fairly certain that we don't need the other blacksmith for the Skeleton Lord boss soul item. I think it is a strayed thing. Well, we'll see if I remember that correctly. Whoosh!
So, if you bigger.
Yeah. Yep, there it is. There is only one thing we can do with the Skeleton Lord's soul, and that's pick up the Roaring Halberd. It is a halberd forged from the soul of a Skeleton Lord, as of course we know, and it's also imbued with the power of dark. The unsettling skull carved into this halberd recalls the final moments of the Skeleton Lord from whom it was created. And oddly enough, you need some intelligence and faith to use that. I guess that's because it is a weapon imbued with the power of dark, as in the dark element. So if you want a halberd with relatively modest strength and dexterity requirements, but some intelligence and faith requirements, well, there you have it. Oh, and I have another attunement slot, which I should really be using. Let's see, what will I put in it? Magic weapon, flame swathe. Magic weapon, flame swathe. No, we'll stick to pyro for the moment. Yeah, that's what we'll do. And we'll keep the poison around just to be on the safe side. I don't know if there's much we can actually poison in an area that's full of the stuff, but yeah, why not? Now then, we should still have enough solage to drop into a couple of levels, and then, at long last, we will move on and begin our journey through Harvest Valley.
Is that a shard you found? Here, to see luck, however...
Actually, I had completely forgotten that I had an Estus Flask shard on me, so, I thank you, Emerald Herald, for reminding me. Alright, what have we got? What have we got? We haven't updated our adaptability in a while, and we are going to need that agility in the long run. And that's all we can afford right now. I don't think I have any consumables on hand, and indeed I do not if I don't want to eat a boss soul, which I don't. So yes, back to the valley. And what the hell? We'll put our summon ring back on, just in case we get some good PvP opportunities. Gotta have them chunks. Now, aside from a few hollows crawling around down there in the poison pool, you'll see a big dude direct in front of me that is a mounted overseer. It's kind of the guy who watches over the prisoners as they slave away in the poison mines here. And dealing with them independently is not too big a deal. They're actually really clumsy in melee, but their main danger is they have a dark magic attack. They just throw a big old ball of dark at you. That will really fuck you up. And there are skeletons down there. They're just piles of bones right now, but they will animate when you get close to them. And I don't want to deal with skeletons and the Overseer at the same time, so I'm going to cheese this guy out. And one thing about these guys changed from the vanilla game to Scholar. It used to be they could only throw their dark magic perfectly horizontally, but as you can see, they are now capable of throwing up. I don't mean vomiting, I mean throwing their dark magic at a vertical angle. And that is a very powerful attack. Like, their melee will wreck your shit too, but their melee is much, much easier to avoid, or even just block with a shield. There we go. And as far as the game's concerned, the giant thing and the guy riding them are just all one enemy. There's no separate hitboxes for them or anything like that. And we might as well shoot down these crawling guys while we have a chance. You really don't want to deal with any more fighting while you're waist deep in poison than you really have to. Let that guy crawl out a little more into range. Speaking of range, that's some pretty sweet range on this Seabow, isn't it? That's why I like it. Dragon Rider bow is really good too for damage, but when it comes to bows, all I want more than anything else is for them to send my arrows a long, long way. That's a great message. Alright, and speaking of skeletons, we will start encountering them hereabouts. And I'll just pop right up. And we will continue to one-shot them with our hammer. And you see there's lots of treasure around here. I think quite a bit of it is nothing but fading souls, but some of it I think is also good stuff. And you know, I think it would be a good idea to put some of that poison moss here, just in case I need to cure poison in a hurry. We don't have lots of it, so I won't use it lightly, but just in case. Alright, let's start looting, which we will want to do fairly gradually because poison buildup. Yep, fading soul, but also a titanite shard, and we currently don't have those in any sort of limitless quantity. Not until we've gotten a couple of upgrades in Chloan's stash. More titanite. Cool. You know, I'm starting to suspect maybe this was originally a titanite mine. The poison just came as a later thing. But they are mining out and gathering the poison for a reason, but we will find that out later when we've met another new friend. Pause for a moment while we recover here. And that little cave under the overpass there, that is going to be significant. We're going to be meeting someone there. Not a new friend, but an old one. But I'll do that after I've cleared things out here. Smooth and silky, those are always good. Some poison knives. Whew, just made it. I'll just bet this is Don't Give Up, Skeleton. Oh, give it up, Skeleton! We've got a rare pessimist. Whenever you see skeletons, it's very common for someone to write Don't Give Up, Skeleton, especially if they appear to be in some sort of predicament. Like crawling up from the poison pool here. But that is the first time I've ever actually seen Give It Up, Skeleton. Torch time. More smooth and silkies. And we're poisoned. Well, that'll happen. Lots of small, smooth, and silky here. I ain't complaining. But I am drinking. More fadings and some more titanites, and there's gonna be a skeleton here, I bet. Yep, knew it. Oh, a little tougher one than the average. I better get a drink in. There we go. Poison is just such a motherfucker in this game. Chunk. Those are good to find for free. Pretty good haul, if I say so myself. Okay. So up on the ramp there, and I think behind the ramp, we'll find a little bit more treasure, and then we will check out the cave. Do excuse my stop-start here, I'm just trying not to spend too much Estus on recovering poison. What's that? Do I hear something that sounds suspiciously like chugging? Another chunk, sweet. Now then, in here we go. I think there's gonna be another, yep. Another skeleton. These ones with the scimitars are kind of tough. No one-shotting them. And another fragrant branch. Those are a pleasure to find. Always good to know we can pass up more petrified people. Is there anything down in the pool here? I'm not entirely certain. Well, we'll check that out in a moment. See what's over here first. There's our buddy. Our drinking buddy. Let's see what kind of treasure he's got here first. I'm sure he won't mind us taking a look. A raw stone. That would actually be good to apply to our shield crossbow, because the shield crossbow has no scaling, but the raw stone increases base damage and reduces scaling. So if there's no scaling to reduce, then it's pure gravy. Anyway, Gavlan, how you been, dude?
Gavlan doing?
That's right.
Gavlan with what? With Gavlan?
Yep, no new dialogue, but still always a pleasure. He hasn't restocked any of his poison arrows, which is kind of a bummer. But we can do some sales, get rid of some of our duplicate items. Bear with me for a moment. Lots of falchions. They're not worth much, but I'll sell them anyway. Couple of shield duplicates. That's about all there. Any armor dupes? Not a one, that's surprising. Now we have a covetous silver +1 and a regular covetous silver, so we don't need the lesser one. And I think that's about all we want to sell for the time being. Cool.
Many deal, many thanks.
You bet, bro. Chug-a-lug. Alright then, we'll see if there's anything of value down in that hole. I'm sure there must be, otherwise it wouldn't be there. Ah, a chest even. Ooh. Divine Blessing and a free fire seed. Well, that's worth it. I'll take a poisoning for that. Alright, before we proceed onward into the level, what I'm going to do is make a little run back to good old Majula. We have cleared an easy path back to the bonfire. And we'll do some stone trades, and maybe with all these fadings, I'll be able to do... Nah, I'm sure even that many with just fading souls, it won't be enough. Alright, but we got one smooth and silky and two small smooth and silkies, and you know what, while we're in Things Betwixt, let's continue onward through the last part of Things Betwixt, and unpetrify that hollow that was blocking the way. That'll make it a little more of an efficient trip, I suppose. And maybe in the process we'll get enough additional souls from the enemies in the area that we can go ahead and get one more level. Step 1, keeping it smooth.
Keep it smooth. Yes, you! Keep it silky! Yeah.
Another elemental stone. An ember herb. Nothing terribly exciting, but if we ever become more of a spellcaster someday, could be of value. And another old whip. Damn it, I don't need another old whip. Well, next time we see Master G, at least we can sell that off to him. This is an odd strain of arguably bad luck I have. Practically every time I play through this game, it just wants to give me shit tons of old whips. And I'm just not that into them. Oh well. We've got, I think, 2 fragrant branches now? Yeah, we do. So I think we can spare one and do this bit. Whoops. Didn't mean to equip that. Still, the flaming punch was kind of fun. And surprise, surprise, when you find a petrified guy, you will often find basilisks. Whoop. Thought I killed that first one. Thankfully, their curse buildup isn't really even all that fast. Hey, who's shooting? Oh, you dickhead. Well, I got a better bow than you do. There. I believe basilisks can drop any kind of elemental stone. Maybe there's 1 or 2 kinds that they can't, but I think they can randomly drop pretty much any of the elemental stuff. Oh, what we got down there? Another one. Well, we'll come back for him in a moment. Before we drop down that hole, though, let's light up this brazier while we can. Lovely. Oh, and yeah, I see we're over 10k, so that would be enough to get another level. So that's one thing we'll at least be able to do before we finish up today. Surprise! Oh, nearly got myself killed for that. Did get myself killed for that. How embarrassing. Got myself hollowed and things betwixt. Well, at least now I know there's a bigger pile of enemies down there, so we'll approach with a bit more caution. At least we don't have far to go. I need to be a little more respectful of these guys' melee capabilities. Poison gas isn't the only thing they can do that's bad for you. Hazardous to your health, if you will. You don't get to guard break me. You are the most fodder of fodder enemies. Now then. You know what, let's just kill one before we go down. There. One less to deal with. Can we plunge attack you? We can. We can get shot, too. My soul's back, that's a relief. And one of these dropped something I saw. At least I thought I did. Nope, guess it was just the ground item. Which is another shard, nice. Alright, how do we get out of here? Illusory wall? Something? Something, something? Oh, it's a ladder. Didn't even see it against the wall texture. Well, the little hollow jerks are kind of tough in this area. Well, you would be coming back after you have a fragrant branch, at least one, so, guess they do want to bump the challenge a little bit. Make sure there aren't any sconces down here for me to light up. Nope, don't see any. Very well then, onward. But there's one. Well, we'll be able to come back here easily enough now that we've cleared out all the enemies. Now, down there we've got a hippo. And there's another one around the corner that you can't really see from here, so once you start shit with one, you're starting shit with another. Something to be careful of. Well, we can open up a shortcut here, and then go back and light up that sconce without difficulty. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's all of the braziers around here. And in Scholar, unlike the original game, that actually does something. Brings up this red phantom hollow guy. Oh, you enormous twat! Gotta watch out for those guard breaks, man. When you play as shield tanky a game as I do, they are a major threat. And they come out so slowly, I really should be able to react a little better than that. Oh well. Let's see if we can creep up on him. No! Too alert. Now don't you try and guard break me again. And I don't want you falling off the cliff. I don't think you drop anything, but just in case. You can do some damage. Give him credit for that. Come on. Don't you run away from me, dickhead. Ooh, something. Well, you know we're gonna have to trade that in right away. Probably get another fucking old whip, but hopefully not. Okay, that's considerably more valuable than another old whip. I will take it. And you know what? Fighting two hippopotami at a time is never my idea of fun, so I think I am honestly gonna cheese this a little bit. I should have enough range to do one of these. Yeah, it just barely hits. There we go. Poison inflicted. That'll help things go a little faster while I continue to plink away at him. Success. Now, one other change that has been made to this area for Scholar is that previously there were 2 hippos down there, which is bad enough, but that's all there was. Now, after you beat both hippos, you are supposed to get a pursuer fight. However, the spawn sequencing doesn't always work entirely as it's supposed to. As I understand it, it is always supposed to be that the pursuer shows up after both hippos are dead, but in my experience it quite often happens that the pursuer shows up while there are still hippos in operation. We'll see if that happens now. Okay, no pursuer yet. Let's see if we can bait this guy out so we don't risk a pursuer. No, you don't. Get this into a little bit more of an open area so we can dodge around. Come on. Hell no, you don't. Take the opportunity to get behind him and hopefully get him into a sit lock. Okay, this is good. You're doing good damage, too. Done and done. Excellent. And so now, when we go down there, it looks like the spawn sequencing is actually going to work correctly and give us a pursuer when it's supposed to. Well, that's a good thing. It's fighting a hippo and a pursuer at the same time. Now that really sucks. Where are you at? No, you're gonna spawn on me. Where are you at? The hell's the pursuer? What, it's not gonna show up at all? Okay, that's really weird. Alright, well what we have here, at any rate, is the sex change coffin. If you should start the game as a lady and want to be a dude, or vice versa, you can just hop on into here, make yourself comfortable for a little while, and you will come out with your sex reversed. Which makes me wonder why the hippo was just kind of hanging out down here staring at it. Maybe it was a hippo suffering from gender dysphoria and just could only stare at it with longing because it was too big to actually fit in the coffin. A tragic tale, but it would have killed us anyway. Alright, well I would have liked to have my pursuer fight down here and get my twinkling titanite for beating up on it, but looks like that's not destined to happen. Maybe if I go out a little bit and come back? Well shit, that's weird. Oh well, I'll check back in later and see maybe if it's, if it respawns, or initially spawns after I change zones. In any case, now that we've actually cleared out the hippos, I believe there is something more that we can trigger back at the home of the retired firekeepers. I don't think the firekeepers themselves will have anything to say, but their assistant Millibeth should. But just to be safe, we'll check with them. Nothing?
Still determined as ever, I see. Do you wish to start all over again?
And this is the offer to reallocate points using a soul vessel. We don't want to respec right now. But we can see here that her name is Strowan, which is, I guess, a nice little bit of detail. And I don't think she has much to say, but we'll try.
You must go on... Well, but if you're to start...
No, nothing new.
No, of course not. Now go along, then.
Yep, no doubt we'll be back. Probably in New Game Plus.
You have proven yourself to the forest. We have little to offer, except perhaps these. May they bring fortune to your journey, in some small way.
So, for clearing out the hippos and coming back here, we get a ladle. Super. That is classified, I believe, as a hammer, so it should be amongst the hammers. Yep, here we go. An ordinary kitchen ladle. He who chooses this as a weapon either faces extenuating circumstances or has an odd sense of humor. If you care for your life, leave this one in the kitchen. Yes, it is in fact a very shitty weapon. And if you see that 10 out of 10 there, it has absolutely god-awful durability. Breaks right quick. So, under normal circumstances, it would not be something you'd ever use. But, like so many joke weapons, there's one way you can actually make it potentially effective. Takes a little doing and probably isn't worth it, but it is an option. If you make it a mundane weapon, which is appropriate for an ordinary ladle, mundane stuff scales according to your lowest stat. So, you generally just want to have high stats across the board, so that your lowest one is still high. So, it'll get scaling if your lowest stat is reasonably high, that will actually make it hit reasonably hard. And mundane weapons, if I recall correctly, do not lose any power when they're broken. And on top of that, the ladle requires a very, very tiny amount of stamina to swing. So you have a weapon that can do passable damage even when it's broken, and you can swing it super fast. Or swing it rapidly a large number of times, I should say, due to its low stamina requirement. So that's something actually almost sort of viable, if someone just fell to their death, that you could do with a handmaid's ladle, but again, unless you have really good stats across the board, probably not worth it. Even then, there are probably better things you can do. But if you're determined to make the ladle useful in one way, I think that's pretty much the only way you can. Now let's see there. Do the hippos respawn? They do not. That's a good start. Of course, this little guy does, but we can take care of him easy enough. Now that I have reset the zone, do we get our pursuer? Yes. Cool. So we'll be able to get some souls out. Oop! Watch that shield bash. We'll be able to get some souls out of this guy, and I believe, as usual for a pursuer, a Twinkling Titanite. And like so many of the pursuer spawns outside of the main boss fight, this gentleman was not in the vanilla game. It's an addition for Scholar. Come on, do your charge and your uppercut. There we go. That is our best opportunity to retaliate, as always. Come on, do your rush. No, not that. That's what we like. Loving that strike damage on this guy. Come on, you know what I'm looking for, and that is it. Ha, didn't catch me that time. And we got a charge coming, very good. And, whoop. There we go. Nice, nice. Not many souls for a pursuer defeat, but still, we've now got a decent supply. And we are done with things betwixt. That's all there really is to do here. Until, of course, we come back for a respec, which I'm sure we'll do eventually. And we've met our new friend at the beginning of Harvest Valley, so next time we will be able to proceed through Harvest Valley for real. For the time being, I'm just gonna run on back down the original path, meet up with the Emerald Herald again, trade in my Estus Flask Shard, and spend on some levels. And then I think we shall call it a day.
Is that a shard you found?
Sure is.
Here, to see luck. However,
Eight gulps of Sunny D.
bearer, seek, lest.
Alright, what shall we do now? No, still need more of that stamina. We haven't hit the soft cap yet. Let's just take it up to the soft cap right now. So we won't have to worry about endurance for a while in our next level raising sequence. Yeah, we got lots of the stuff. Alright then, I think that's been a reasonably satisfying section. Didn't do too much new territory, but we started exploring a new area and we finished up with Huntsman's Copse. Had a solid boss fight there and a little co-op with our new buddy Crate and Barrel. So yeah, I think we will call it good. As always folks, it's been a pleasure having you along and I'll see you real soon. Actually, it's probably going to be a new month next time, so we will have some new patrons to acknowledge. In the meantime, thank you as always for watching, and take care. Today's episode of I Played a Thing has been brought to you by such generous patrons as Justin Carpenter, Nolden, Zangamarth, Charlie Dunst, Anonymous Benefactor, John Madigan, Johnny Millennium, Sanguine Games, Misha Van Doren, Craig Patterson, Frank Grizzy, Tim J., Lolo DePuzlo, Joshua C. Ritchie, Jared C. Rice, Darren Chow, Sonic Rose, EX Potemkin, Alicia Goranson, and Argyle Jelly. Thank you all very much, and thanks to all other patrons, and to all you commenters, subscribers, watchers. As always, I am very grateful for your continued viewership and patronage, and I hope to see you again real soon.